Welcome, everyone, to Rutgers at the Voice of College Football. Today, Rutgers took on Illinois, and it was an absolutely terrible ending to a game that Rutgers should have won. Rutgers falls to 6-5 on the season, suffering a heartbreaking loss to the Fighting Illini. So let's get straight to it. This was a game that Rutgers should have never lost. It's a demoralizing defeat for the Scarlet Knights and its fan base, and it's completely unacceptable. And we're going to talk about that later. First, let's go over the game. Let's go over what happened, especially in that fourth quarter. Illinois comes into Piscataway 7-3 and 4-3 in the Big Ten. Rutgers comes in on a 2-game winning streak, 6-4 overall, 3-4 in the Big Ten. Now, it's been kind of a tale of two seasons for Rutgers. They started off 4-0, then they were 0-4 in the next 4 games. Then they go on a 2-game winning streak, looking to get to 7-4 against Illinois. So, how'd the game start out? Illinois' first drive, 3 and out. Good start for Rutgers. However, Rutgers roughs the kicker inexplicably, thus giving Illinois a second drive, but nonetheless they failed to convert on third down. And on Rutgers' first drive, we see Kyle Monangai. He's back and healthy. So far this season, 197 carries for 1,028 yards, 5.2 average. Rutgers puts together a great drive that ends in a field goal. Goes up 3-0 over the Fighting Illini. Illinois third drive. They drive down the field, but on the 3rd and 6, they fail to convert, and they add a personal foul penalty, which takes them out of field goal range, and they punt it back to Rutgers. Rutgers' second drive, 3 and out. So we're still at 3-0 Rutgers. And then Illinois on their next drive, Hank Beatty for the Fighting Illini returns it 59 yards to the Rutgers 10-yard line. Rutgers defense thankfully holds and limits the Illini to a field goal. It's 3-3 at this point. On Rutgers' third drive, they finally saw some productivity, and Ethan Kaliakamanis, Rutgers quarterback, 12-yard touchdown run to put Rutgers ahead 10-3 at that point. On the next drive, Illinois drives within the 25-yard line and ultimately scores a touchdown, but for some reason, they missed the extra point. So it's 10-9 Rutgers at this point. Rutgers' next drive, they score, going ahead 17-9 over the Fighting Illini, and that takes us to halftime. At this point, it's looking good for Rutgers. They are holding up well on defense, and the Illini's run defense looks quite porous, which is good for us because Kyle Monangai was gashing them, and the second half looked quite promising. Not to mention the fact that Rutgers is undefeated when leading at halftime. Well, that undefeated streak would end today. Illinois, first drive of the second half, they punt. All right, so next drive, Ethan Kaliakamanis for Rutgers on a quarterback run. He fumbles the football. And guess what? Illinois recovers. And guess what typically happens when you turn the ball over? The other team capitalizes on it. Illinois goes down the field, scores a touchdown on a rushing TD from Josh McCray for the Fighting Illini. Illinois goes for 2, doesn't get it, and therefore it's now 17-15 Rutgers. But Rutgers wasn't done. Rutgers comes back. And on its next drive, which leads us into the fourth quarter, Rutgers scores on a 3rd and goal to make it 24-15, a 9-point and 2-possession lead over the Fighting Illini. So, at this point, it's about 13 minutes left in the game, 24-15 over Illinois. Looking good. This is one of those times where if you decided to take a nap or fall asleep, you expected to wake up and see a victory. Well, if you did that, you woke up to a nightmare because it was right after this point that the wheels fell off. From this point on, 13 minutes left in the game, Illinois outscored Rutgers 23-7. Let me repeat that they outscored Rutgers 23-7 to come out with a 38-31 improbable victory that was secured in the final seconds. I see Jillian Baker there in the comments. Hi, Jillian. Nice to see you too. So, what went on during this 13 nightmarish minutes? Well, Illinois started scoring. Okay. They came within 24-22 after a touchdown. Then they scored again to go ahead 30-24. Didn't look good for Rutgers at this point, but with 1 minute and 8 seconds left, Kyle Monangai scores on a pass from Kalia Kamanis, and Rutgers goes ahead 31-30. And at this point, we're thinking that while this win is ugly, a win is a win, and we're going to get the win here. Well, think again. Illinois had one last chance, and they surely took advantage of it. With about 14 seconds left, Illinois has the ball on the Rutgers 40-yard line. 4th down and 13. All Rutgers needs is one more stop. Just like you need one more strike to win that World Series or win that playoff game. What happens on 4th and 13? Illinois quarterback Luke Altmaier drops back to pass, throws a 40-yard touchdown pass to Pat Bryant of the Illini. They go ahead 38-31 with 4 seconds left, leaving the result all but academic from there. Illinois then kicks off to Rutgers. Of course, Rutgers tries some trick plays, but it doesn't work. And that was the end of it. So we go from an outstanding first half to a lead of 17-9 at the half. In the beginning of the fourth quarter, we're up 24-15 with 13 minutes to go. Illinois, 2 unanswered scores to go ahead 30-24. We answer back with 1 minute, 8 seconds remaining. And then on 4th and 13, Illinois puts the dagger into the hearts of Scarlet Knights fans with a 40-yard touchdown pass to win the game. A heartbreaking loss for Rutgers, who falls to 6-5 on the season. An absolutely inexcusable loss for Rutgers, and something that really defines Rutgers' season in one word: mediocrity. Mediocrity. Let's look at the team statistics. Luke Altmaier for the Fighting Illini, 12 of 26 for 249 yards and 2 touchdowns. For Rutgers, Athan Kalia Kamanis, 19 of 37 for 175 yards and 2 touchdowns. Rushing, Kyle Monangai, 28 carries, 122 yards. Receiving, Paul Bryant for the Illini, 7 receptions, 197 yards, and that 1 touchdown that sealed the game for the Illini. Ian Strong for Rutgers, 6 receptions, 66 yards, and a touchdown. Total yards on the game, Illinois, 431 yards against that Rutgers defense, which has been hobbled by injuries. 388 for Rutgers. Passing, 249 yards for Illinois, but 40 yards that mattered and won the game for them. 175 yards for Rutgers. Rushing, 182 yards for Illinois, 213 for Rutgers. Yards per play, 7 yards per play for Illinois. 4.7 yards per play for Rutgers. First downs, Illinois 24, Rutgers 30. Third down conversions, Illinois 4 of 10, Rutgers 8 of 14, over 50%. Total plays, 62 for the Illini, 82 for the Scarlet Knights. Time of possession, 26 minutes, 24 seconds for the Illini, 33 minutes, 36 seconds for Rutgers. So when you look at the statistics, they suggest that Rutgers should have won this game. But they didn't. They didn't, because they were outscored 23-7 in the fourth quarter. Completely inexcusable. And for those of you who are watching, I've put the link in the chat. I would love to hear you call in and hear your thoughts on this disaster of a game, because I'm about to go on a little bit of a rant here. When this season started, Rutgers started out 4-0. Then they lose 4 straight games, 14-7 to Nebraska, 42-10 at home to Wisconsin, 35-32 at home to UCLA, 42-20 at USC. Then they go on a 2-game winning streak, get to 6-4 in bowl eligibility. Then the Illini, with a 7-3 record, not an incredibly impressive team by any means, comes into Piscataway. You have to win this game. There are no excuses, and I'm saying this to Coach Schiano and the players. I'm a New Jersey native. I've been a Rutgers fan my whole life. I love the university, and I support the football program. Although I didn't attend Rutgers, as a New Jersey native and someone who knows a lot of people who went to and played for Rutgers football, I have a tremendous amount of respect for Rutgers, and I want to see Rutgers become an elite football team that competes meaningfully in the Big Ten. This loss was an absolute disgrace. All right? And I don't know about other Rutgers fans, but I am so sick and tired of accepting mediocrity. We know that in Greg Schiano's first stint from 2001 to 2011, he turned this team around in his fourth year. And that team had several strong years where they were contenders and they went to legitimate bowl games. Okay? Then we had the Chris Ash era, which was a disaster. Now in Schiano's second stint, he's starting to turn the team around again. But you have to win the games that are winnable. There's only one game on this schedule that if I had looked at it, I would have penciled in as a loss, and that would have been USC in Los Angeles. There's absolutely no excuse whatsoever to not win the winnable games, because as a Rutgers fan and as a New Jersey native, I am so sick and tired of the years of mediocrity, of the years of celebrating being 7-5. I don't want to celebrate that. To me, that's a failure. I was watching a couple of other Rutgers shows just a few days ago where the commentators were talking about how it would be an incredible, incredible year if we ended up 8-4 and went to the Citrus Bowl. Well, that's bullshit. If you Rutgers fans have that mindset and have that expectation, then we may as well forget about Rutgers football, because 8-4 is good, but it's not good enough. This team could, and I would submit should, have only one loss right now. That loss being to USC. There is no reason that we should have given up 35 points to UCLA. There's no reason we should have scored only 7 points against Nebraska in Lincoln. Simply no excuse whatsoever. There's no reason that we should have come out lifeless against Wisconsin in Piscataway and lost 42-10. Yet I see some Rutgers fans on some other Rutgers shows celebrating the fact that we got to bowl eligibility with 6 wins. That's like saying you're happy if you get a C on your report card. Okay? That's like saying you'd be happy with being average. It's like saying you'd be happy with being mediocre. Well, not me. And it's about time that Rutgers and Rutgers fans start holding this team to higher expectations. This team could and should be 9-2 or 10-1 right now. And I don't want to hear excuses about injuries. I don't want to hear excuses about, we were this close and we're getting there. We're about to break through. Nonsense. This loss today is exactly symptomatic of what I've been saying on every show, that this team is good, but it's not good enough. And now we have to sit here 6-5 with a loss to Illinois when we give up the winning touchdown on a 4th and 13 with 14 seconds left. That should never happen. And it's about time that Rutgers as a university and Rutgers fans start having the kind of standards that you see at Alabama. Start having the standards that you see at Georgia. Start having the standards that you see at Ohio State. Start having the standards that you see at Texas. Because at those schools, one loss is considered a failure. Not winning the national championship is considered a failure. That's how high the expectations are. But yet when I look at some of these other Rutgers shows and these other Rutgers commentators, they're jumping up and down and celebrating a possible 8-4 season and an invitation to the Citrus Bowl. What kind of mentality is that? Is that what you want to embrace, mediocrity? You want to embrace a season in which we have no chance to contend for the Big Ten title and no chance to be in playoff contention when the playoffs have expanded to 12 teams? And you're happy. You're happy that we became bowl eligible with 6 wins. You're happy at the prospect of 8-4, which after today, we know is no longer possible. That makes you happy. That makes you want to celebrate. Well, you could take the Citrus Bowl and shove it, and you can take your 8-4 season and shove it. Rutgers is an elite university. It has high athletic standards, and its athletic standards should match it. And we need to start telling recruits, we're not in this to be 8-4. We're not in this to get a B- on the test. We're not in this to win a consolation prize. We're in this to win a national championship. That's the culture, and that's the mindset that the players need to have and that the recruits need to know exists. Because how do you feel as a Rutgers fan right now? And speaking of that, you Rutgers fans out there, I've got a little criticism for you. Because I'm watching the game today. I'm watching the game, and I see a lot of empty seats in the stadium. I see thousands of empty seats. I don't hear any noise. It sounded more like a person was in a library than at a football game. Well, if that's the kind of support you want to provide to your team, you should be ashamed of yourself. And you shouldn't be upset when they do have mediocre results. Coach Schiano deserves more. He deserves better than this. Coach Schiano single-handedly turned around this program in his first stint at Rutgers and made them nationally relevant. Coach Schiano is trying to do that now. And although he's close to breaking through, we keep seeing the same old Rutgers problem. Namely, it's the same old Rutgers. So close, but yet so far away. And with Coach Schiano and the way that he has built this program up, not only in his first stint, but now his second stint, both in player development and recruiting, Rutgers needs to do better. That means more fans in the stands. That means higher expectations for your team and not celebrating, an invitation to the Citrus Bowl, the Pinstripe Bowl, the Pretzel Bowl, whatever the hell you want to call it. No, the standard is excellence. And the standard is that every year, Rutgers should be competing for a playoff spot. How do you get there? Well, I've already told you the first thing. You get there by improving the culture. By having a culture where you cultivate a championship mindset, both in the players you have and the players that you are recruiting. A championship mindset where the standard is only one standard: perfection. Not greatness, not being good, certainly not being mediocre. That's number one, culture. Number two, recruiting. Rutgers is currently 29th in the country in recruiting. 29 is good. It's not good enough. 29, 29th in the country is a destination to a 7-5 season. It's a perfect recipe for mediocrity. We need to start getting more 4- and 5-star players. We've got 4 4-stars and 23 3-stars right now. 3-stars are good. 3-stars can be developed. The University of Iowa teaches us that. But a team dominated by 3-stars is not competing for a national championship. How do we get those 4- and 5-stars? Well, number one, you go to the transfer portal, because there's a lot of players at Alabama, Texas, Georgia, Ohio State, that are really pissed off. You don't want to know why they're pissed off? They're pissed off because they're not starting. They were recruited as 4- and 5-stars, but they're on the bench. Let me give you an example. Eli Holstein of Alabama, the 3rd-string quarterback at Alabama. He went into the portal. Pittsburgh got him. And before he got injured, he was having a fantastic year for Pittsburgh, and Pittsburgh itself is having a very good year. You need to go into the portal and buy those players. Now, that means you're going to have to spend money, a lot of money. But if you want to be a good program, you better spend the damn money. Now, Rutgers, you have the resources. You are not a poor university. It's a question that, not regarding the first reason I said it, culture, it's a question of the second reason, commitment to excellence. And that starts with recruiting from the transfer portal, and it also means buying players out of high school, because we are in the NIL era where money talks and bullshit walks. Understand? Let me give you an example. There was some high school player, I think his name was Bryce Underwood, who was committed to LSU since January of 2024, but in the last few days flipped to Michigan. Why did he flip to Michigan? Take a wild guess. Money. Michigan came up with, reports are saying, between $10 and $12 million, a 10 and $12 million offer for Bryce to come to Michigan. Now, Bryce didn't want to go to Michigan initially. He grew up about 30 minutes from the University of Michigan, wanted to go out of state. But they made him an offer he couldn't refuse. And now 5-star Bryce Underwood is going to Michigan. And what happens when a 5-star like Bryce Underwood goes to Michigan? Other 4-stars, other 5-stars, they want to go to Michigan too, because they want to play with players that they think are going to win a national title. So it has a domino effect. Rutgers, that is what you must do. You have to dedicate millions of dollars to buying 4- and 5-star players from the portal and in traditionally recruiting high school athletes. If you don't do this, and you don't have that commitment, and I don't suspect that Rutgers has that commitment at this point, you will be in a perpetual state of mediocrity where you're always knocking on the door, but the door never opens, where you're constantly this close, but that far away. And I don't know about you Rutgers fans out there, but I'm tired of it. I'm tired of it. This program has been around for over 100 years. When have we won anything? And I know there's some commentators out there who believe that we should celebrate an invitation to the Peach Bowl or a 7-5 season. Count me out. No, I will never do that. There's some fans out there who have resigned themselves that this is going to be Rutgers football in perpetuity. Not me. Why the hell did you get Coach Schiano if that was the expectation? I have to believe that Rutgers wants to be better. But the only way they're going to be better is a championship culture where the mindset is perfection and making the playoffs every year. Number 2, commitment to getting players, through the portal and through recruiting by buying them. Bryce Underwood shows you that you can buy players. Eli Holstein going from Alabama to Pitt and having a great year shows you there's people out there who want to transfer that you can buy. The third thing you have to do is develop players. You have to develop players so that you can tell recruits that our kids go to the NFL, or at least have a reasonable opportunity of going to the NFL. Okay? I don't see that happening at Rutgers right now. What I see is Rutgers plateauing. Okay? Plateauing and being the same old team that loses to the teams we always expect them to lose to, and are thrilled when they get a victory that they shouldn't, which always leads to a 7-5 season and a ticket to the Pretzel Bowl. I don't know what else you want to call it. The Toilet Bowl, the Pinstripe Bowl, whatever the hell they call it. This is not acceptable. And so what I would say to Rutgers fans and Rutgers commentators out there who are satisfied with this or who have resigned themselves to this mediocrity, don't be a Rutgers fan, right? Because you're not good for the program. And neither are you fans who stayed home today when we had a chance to go 7-4 and left thousands of seats empty. And a stadium that sounded about as intimidating as, as a stuffed animal. Give me a break. It's not acceptable. As long as I do this show, I am going to be on the vanguard of saying that Rutgers needs, number one, higher expectations, championship mindset, championship culture. The culture that you see with the Crimson Tide, with the Buckeyes, with the Longhorns, okay? With the Bulldogs in Athens, Georgia. Number two, I want to see commitment. Commitment. Rutgers, administration, put the resources in to get these players, because once you start setting the precedent that you can get 4 and 5 stars, even if it's a couple at the beginning, you set that precedent, then other 4 and 5 stars are going to notice. And you will have a better chance at getting other 4 and 5 star players. Furthermore, you will likely win more games. And when you win more games, people want to play for you. So if you start at the outset with the resources and you want to build a foundation for a championship and playoff a team every year, yeah, a championship mindset's great, but a commitment through money, transfer portal, buying high school athletes. Because once you get a few, you're going to start winning more and getting more players of that caliber. And then you start a self-perpetuating cycle of excellence. That's how winning happens. And then 3, you want to hear more people from Rutgers' names being called on Sunday. So you can say, we'll make you rich when you come to Rutgers. You'll be part of a winning program, and it'll be a gateway to the NFL. That's the trifecta that any high school athlete or any transfer wants to hear. And it can be done because the NIL actually gives traditionally lower ranked schools the opportunity to be successful by using their resources to dedicate themselves to improving as a team, improving culture, improving commitment to championships, and achieving results not only on the field, but in these players' lives in the future in the NFL. Until that happens, we are going to sit through Saturday after Saturday until 2090, hearing the same old narrative. Well, we were close. We're still developing. The players played hard. I don't care one bit. The only thing that the world cares about is the results of your performance. And the results were not there today. A 38-31 loss, an inexcusable loss. And if there's one play that exemplifies or underscores the shortcomings of this season, and I don't care about bowl eligibility or the Citrus Bowl or the Raspberry Bowl or any other bowl. I care about the playoffs. There's one play that exemplifies the shortcoming of this season. It's giving up a 40-yard touchdown pass on 4th and 14 with 14 seconds left. That, in a nutshell, explains the season. That, in a nutshell, shows you how close we are, but how very far we are away. And for me, that's unacceptable. For the fans, it should be unacceptable. For the university, it's been unacceptable. And I've given you a prescription for success, Rutgers. If you don't embrace it, then why do you have a football program? And if you're a fan of Rutgers football, why are you celebrating a 6-6 or a 7-5 season? What is there to celebrate? All that shows is you're resigned to mediocrity for the rest of your life. It's got to end now. This bullshit has to stop. This was a horrible loss. It feels horrible, and it should. Now, Rutgers has one more chance next weekend to get its 7th win against Michigan State in East Lansing. On Monday at 7 p.m., we are going to preview that game. I'll give you my prediction about how that game, who will win that game. But I know that my rants probably, some people may not agree with my opinions or my approach, but that's fine. I'd like to hear from you. What would you do differently? Are you satisfied with mediocrity? Are you satisfied that we lose like this, that we lose by 3 to UCLA, get blown out by 32 at home against Wisconsin, lose by 7 in Lincoln, Nebraska? It's not acceptable, and it'll never be acceptable. We should be 10-1 or 9-2. And the last thing I'm going to say on this show is directed to you, Coach Schiano. And we hope to have you on the show in December. We respect you, respect what you've done for the program in your 2 stints at Rutgers. But, Coach, I would like to hear you in your press conference tell the media, tell the fans, tell the world that this is unacceptable, that you will not accept mediocrity, that the performance was not good enough, and that you're going to accept nothing less than excellence and a team that is in the playoffs every year. I want to see you bring that championship mindset. Okay, I want to see you bring that culture to Rutgers. And then I want to see the commitment to recruiting, and I want to see the development so that we could put people in the NFL and say, we not only make you better players, but we make your lives better while you're here and after you graduate. I want to hear that from you in the press conference, Coach. I don't want to hear we're still working hard. We're still chopping. We're still developing. We're doing everything we can to be successful. You are a fantastic leader, Coach, and we look to you to set the precedent. We look to you to build the foundation. All right, so please use your press conferences to get a little bit pissed off. You've coached at the highest levels in football. This can't be acceptable to you. So get pissed off and say it. Say, as long as I'm coaching this damn team, we are going to achieve excellence, okay? We are going to contend for the playoffs every year, and we are not going to be satisfied with any losses. And if our players don't meet that standard, they won't be playing for us. And we're going to go out there, and we're going to get the best players, and we're going to build the best teams, and we're going to win. And we're going to have a university that makes the lives of its players better, not only financially, but personally and professionally, because when they're here, they will play, and when they leave, they will play again on Sundays. Get pissed off, like Nick Saban did when Alabama would lose a game. You are the leader, and we need you to lead in that way if Rutgers is going to go from a team where it's always what could have been rather than what is. And that's where I'll leave it for today. For those of you who have been watching, if you liked it, please hit the like and subscribe button, and please feel free to comment. I welcome all different perspectives. We'll be back here on Monday at 7 p.m. to discuss and preview the game against Michigan State and East Lansing. But for now, 38-31 loss, where we're talking about what could have been rather than what is. Thanks to you all, and have a great day.